So, Gen V Season 2 just ended, and in my opinion, it was a great season. Up until we got to the finale, that is. Now you've seen the title of this video, so you know exactly where I'm going with this, and I will preface this by saying that this isn't a review video. If you guys want a review video on Gen V, then I will gladly do so. Just leave a comment down below, and I'll get that to you guys. But there was just something about the finale that really got me annoyed, and it had to do with Godolkin, Sage, Marie, all of that. I think most of the fan base had a problem with the finale, but that's what we're going to get into today. If you're new around here, hi, I'm Mercy Unscripted. Welcome to the channel where I do deep dive analysis and reviews on your favorite TV shows, movies, and films. Leave a comment on the video and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that way I can keep making more videos like these. I greatly appreciate it. Also, this is probably my more recent video, but I did do a Peacemaker video a while back. I've been trying to edit it so many times, but Premiere Pro is not working for me. My version is crashing for some reason. Ever since the whole Amazon thing popped off, it's been nothing but problems, and my project is completely stuck in Premiere. If you guys have any idea how to fix this error or anything like that, leave a comment down below, please, because I don't really want to record that entire video. In that video, I also go over why I've been gone so long and what happened. I also did a community post about it. So yeah, when that video finally comes out, whenever Premiere decides to start working for me, you guys will get updated on that. That video has been recorded for weeks now, so whenever it gets out, it gets out. But let's jump into this Gen V video. So I think a lot of people had different problems with the finale. Mine's in particular was just the under explanation of a lot of different things. Like, so many things were never explained. Marie's healing and how exactly that works. Why does it affect everyone around her? And like, how can she actually do it? And the thing that pissed me off the most is that the one guy that could technically explain all of this on a molecular level, like the scientist behind it all, is dead. So it feels like we're never gonna get a good explanation for how Marie's powers work. Also his powers, like how does Godolkin powers actually work? Because his skin just decides to bubble up whenever he uses the power. That's what we found out in the finale, but it also did that in the flashback. So in the flashback, watching it at the beginning of the episode, I'm thinking that it's just the fire getting close to him and it's singeing his skin, but no, it's actually him using his power. So who is he using his powers on then? And that's something that they just kind of glossed over and never actually explained. Also, the true scope of his powers and how many people can he control. In the episode, it said no more than 2 because he hasn't been that strong, but like, where does his ceiling stop? So in the last 2 episodes of Gen V, I think it was episode 7, when the big reveal of who Thomas Godolkin actually was, that moment for me was jaw-dropping. It was a great reveal of a character, great lead up, great build up, and I think that is actually my biggest problem with the season, is that they had such beautiful setup for perfectly big moments, but the writers kind of fumbled all of it in the end. They set up a character with insane superpowers of being able to puppetly control a person's body, gave him decades of mind control and compound V1 research to draw from. Like, he has history and decades and decades of all of this information. He's intelligently smart, like so smart, and he literally has the smartest person in the world on his side, plus a whole training program regimen in place to shape Marie, the other Odessa god level soup, into the perfect counter for Homelander, and they tossed it all out the window in exchange for a cliche ego trip downfall that every villain of the week falls custom to in stories. Godolkin had so much potential to become the perfect villain to stunt Homelander's ascension into twisted godhood. His calm and cunningness nature is exactly the contrast that's needed to push Homelander into falling precisely where Sage needed him to be. Whether that's just to place a leash on Homelander, or better yet, just kill him altogether. I just feel like there was so much more Godolkin could have done as a character, and the moment I started to see him spiral into his own ego is when I started to get a little annoyed, because you have the smartest soup in the world right next to you with a plan that could guarantee you control over both Odessa soups, and you just say, fuck it, I'm gonna do it my own way. That's where shit just kind of hit the fan for me. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like, where did all of those decades of patience go? Like, he sat waiting in his own burnt body or hopping from body to body, waiting for Marie to come and heal him someday. With that kind of hope and those kinds of patience, like, it just kind of went right out the window. It's so crazy to me. Like, you know, there's a plan in place that can guarantee you what you want, and he just throws all of that away for a shot at being the king of all suits, I guess. And it kind of just felt like a complete 180 of his character up to that point, because the writers sold me on the idea that he was something similar to Sage, where he's just calm and content. Maybe not on the same intellect as Sage, but really smarter than your average villain. Thomas Godolkin is one of those villains who should have been an astounding villain. He had the ideology, the history, the twisted charisma, and yet somehow landed more as an interesting concept rather than fully realized menace. The show gives him the architecture of a great antagonist, but not the emotional gravity to make him unforgettable. Another reason that I feel like Thomas Godolkin fell short as a villain is because of the underdeveloped psychology that the show presented. The best villains reflect the show's heroes. It's like a mirror, not just the monsters itself. So Marie's whole arc is about turning trauma into agency. Like, yes, I messed up my entire family, I broke up my entire childhood, but I'm gonna go find my sister and fix that. Whereas Godolkin's could have been the flip side of that, turning trauma into control. Whereas, yes, I was a part of this huge project, the Odessa program, and now the product of that program is running wild and rampant. I need to control this, it's my responsibility. The hints are there, the burned body, the loss of humanity, and the obsession with perfection, but the show never lets us feel his pain or delusion. He's introduced as an intellect, but not a person. The absence of flashbacks and humanizing moments and the real emotional beats leaves him abstract. They try to with all of those scenes with him and Sage, you know, in bed and like thinking about future and stuff like that, but they never actually landed. It just felt like meaningless romance for no reason, honestly. And without seeing what broke him mentally, his god complex just reads as arrogance. Thomas Godolkin was just too much concept, but too little charisma or charm. In the boys' universe, villains tend to be very vibrant personalities, like Homelander's chilling narcissism and Victoria Newman's, my favorite character, quiet and like menacing, Stan Edgar's cold corporate precision. Godolkin, despite like all his fascinating backstory, feels more like a thesis statement, institutional evil made into flesh, if you will. He's the embodiment of systemic corruption, but doesn't embody it with flair or menace. Besides like earlier in the season when Linklater did the performance as an actor, that just felt so menacing and cold. That's why I love his performance a lot better than when Ethan Slater did it. And in my opinion, I prefer Linklater's interpretation of Godolkin over Ethan Slater, just because he did such a good job in a chilling performance at pure evil and like wickedness under a calm exterior. However, both actors were great. Linklater just has that insane range of a villain that I love to see in a lot of films and TV shows. It just actually felt menacing and very dark. However, after the big reveal in episode 7 in the season finale, his dialogue just leans more academic and almost sterile, in my opinion. And the show never really gives him a moment to actually own a scene. Everything is just overdrawn and outshone by the spectacle of what he's doing rather than him himself, the words and philosophy that he lives by and that he's trying to convey on screen. Like, you guys remember the dancing number that happened in the season finale in the training room? A lot of fans kind of felt off-putting by that scene and that it just came out of nowhere. That I felt like wasn't intentional for the writers. I felt like they intended that scene to be a little bit more sinister and disturbing. Like, he had all of these innocent students involuntarily dancing in front of the heroes, only to have them to start killing each other right afterwards. And I feel like this was supposed to convey how twisted and warp-minded this villain is. However, on paper, that sounds great. It just didn't translate on screen in the exact same way. And if anything, it kind of left people feeling more confused rather than intimidated by Thomas Godolkin. In narrative terms, he's an avatar for the system, which is both clever and very limiting. You can't punch an institution, so the show lets Marie punch a man representing it. But that makes his defeat more metaphorical rather than cathartic. And the writers leaned into that idea intentionally, but it leaves the viewers and audience cold because villains need more emotional weight as much as intellectual symbolism. At heart, Godolkin should have been a tragic figure, the man who built the world for perfect soups and became enslaved by his own creation. Instead, he's treated like a twisted villain. Now, there's nothing wrong with the twisted villain route, it's just honestly what they didn't do is just show more of his humanity, like his life back then before the Odessa program went to shit, like him as a doctor. What did this character like to do? And everything like that. And they didn't show that much of his humanity before all of this popped off, or his fear of obsolescence. His disgust for the chaos wasn't even that strong in my opinion. For someone who has created this world or created these soups, these omega level soups, and has been watching over the decades in several different bodies, and he hates it. You know, that disgust for what the world has turned into isn't that strong. It didn't translate that well onto screen. Now, yeah, he did walk around the campus and see all of these young kids with shit powers and is like, you're useless, you need to die, I need to call the weak. But he wasn't really that angry about it. It felt more like a satirical joke, if anything. Like, I feel like if the writers would have just took a little bit more time to flesh out this character, it could have elevated him to a Lex Luthor level of delusion and could have gave us something with much more emotional impact. I get very passionate about this because, as you can tell, I genuinely like a good villain. Like, that's like the highlight of a show for me. Now, I want to talk about Sage for a second, because although Godolkin was fumbled to hell, the writers of Gen V did emphasize the intellect of Sage throughout the final episodes effortlessly. Like, it came through on screen so well. We don't know the full scope of her plan yet, but I will say the curiosity gap is now pretty big. Like, what will she do now that Godolkin is dead? Is there still a chance to leash Homelander? And how does Marie fit into her plan for phase 2 now? Sage is playing a very tactical game, and even though she's not in the public eye, Sister Sage is slowly becoming both series' biggest villain without even having to become directly involved. And that's quite interesting in my opinion. I also wouldn't be surprised if Homelander completely wipes her off the board before her full plan is even in effect, or just after it's been fully realized, because then her character arc would be over and she has nothing left to offer to the story. And I think Sage's end goal isn't world domination or control over all the soups. I think it's just to live in a world not under Homelander's foot. And Godolkin may have been the easiest way to achieve this, but Marie could be the safest way now, even if it has to take a little longer. Whatever the case is now, I do believe the writers kind of wrote themselves into a bit of a hole where there isn't a clear public enemy going into season 5 of The Boys. Yes, Sage is pulling strings in the shadows, but Homelander is favored by the people and Marie is with the resistance. This isn't necessarily a bad thing if they can pull it off in a captivating way. A way that puts the boys, Marie and her team, and the Starlighters to come out on top, or at least to have a lasting impact. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It took me a little while to put it together because this initially wasn't supposed to be my first video coming back. It's actually the Peacemaker video that should be coming out relatively soon and should explain my whole absence and everything. But man, it just didn't sit right with me that they killed off Godolkin so fast. And it's not like, it was unexpected, but not like in a shock factory kind of way. It was more so just confusing because it just didn't make sense why, all right? It didn't make sense in my head why they would kill off this character after so much setup. So I just decided to make a video on it to share my thoughts with you guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments down below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It means so much to me. I'll always appreciate it. I read every single comment. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.